Yeah. So when did you move to America?
Moved over in 2019.
For marriage?
Yeah, pretty much. So Candace and I met in December of 2018, and we got engaged very quickly after 17 days. And
Thursday just looked up. What?
Yeah, it was one of those things. I mean, it was very much a God thing. The Lord was in control of that whole process, and it was quite the full story is quite insane. I mean, the full story was she actually came to London to do an event with the organization she was with at the time, which was called Turning Point. And even the build up to that story is quite funny. So she basically, Charlie Kirk, who runs Turning Point, and Candace were kind of doing a speaking tour of the US. And
UK, you mean? Or?
No, this was still when they were in the US, okay. Right? And she said to him one day, she was like, I feel like we should go and do some events in England. We should go and do some events in London. And Charlie sort of was like, okay, well, you know, they'd sort of been thinking about doing something or a sister organization in the UK. And so she then became very belligerent about it. And when she looks back on it now, she says, I had no idea why I was so belligerent about going to the UK. But there was this kind of great calling that she felt that we needed to go and do this event in London. We should get the Turning Point UK chapter on the map, et cetera, et cetera. And so Charlie got in touch, or she got in touch actually with some people in the UK and sort of said, hey, heads up, we're coming over in December of 2018. And that info was relayed to me. I was quite involved in British politics at the time. So it kind of made sense. I'd heard of her organization. Her organization is called Blexit, which is the black exit from progressive policies. And, you know, I was very involved in Brexit. So, you know, it was kind of like a synergy there. Mm-hmm. And she came over and we did this event. They did an event at the Royal Automobile Club in London in 2018, which was for about 300, I would say 300 to 400 people. And I was in the audience. And something about her demeanor just kind of instantly struck me. I mean, it was very unusual. I remember messaging a friend of mine, you know, a couple of days afterwards, just being like, there's something different about this girl. There's something different about.
Had you met her yet, or just seen her from stage?
We'd shaken hands, and that was it. And then the next night, I organized this dinner for a whole group of people. So it was her and Charlie as well, and they actually turned up 3 hours late because they were doing a podcast in the countryside. And so when they came back into town, it was kind of like 3 hour late, but we sort of got to know each other a little bit better. And then the next week I flew over to the States to see her speaking at a conference in Florida. And nothing had been said. Like there had been no romantic overtures at all at any of this point. It had all just been very kind of above board and talking about politics and engaging in kind of philosophical conversations. And then at the end of December, we started. I called her a couple of times just to kind of chat, and again, you know, just had these long, like, prolonged conversations, which were mainly about politics and trying to understand what she wanted to do in life. And at the end of December, I was actually flying to South Africa at the time for New Year's, and I called her and I just said, listen, I know this is completely crazy and we've just met, but how do you feel about getting married to me?
Just real quick. I missed the bit where there was any sort of...
There was literally nothing romantic had been said up to this point.
Okay.
I mean, literally nothing.
So I missed nothing.
We hadn't gone on a date. We had not talked about marriage or the future or anything like that.
All right.
And and she said yes.
No.
Yeah.
Come on.
She did.
That didn't happen.
Yeah,
You're making it up.
It's all fiction. Fake news. No, it was.
This guy's not even Candace Owens' husband. I thought it was weird that he would refuse to go to Paris. Who is he? What a strange
some random
thing.
guy that just pulled off the street in Steubenville.
That's right. You called her up and said, "How would you feel about getting married?"
Yeah.
Were you nervous? Were you serious, or were you partly expecting? Was this a pickup line?
No, I mean, no, I was 100% serious. I mean, I felt that there's a little bit of a story there also in relation to like the hand of God in all of this, which is that, when I was first up to this point, I had been kind of, I would say, dormant in my faith, and not really living, a godly life, not really living a life which was, meritorious of being called a Christian life, really. But I had been praying this prayer because I've been saying to the Lord, like, please, can you show me the path before my feet? What is this path what is the path of my life? Where do you want me to end up? What do you want me to do? And in the aftermath of first meeting her, about a week later, I had this long car journey where I was driving down to Devon, which is a county in England, which is about 3.5 hours outside of London. And I remember having this very powerful, vivid emotion, kind of overwhelming sense of God speaking to me saying, you were praying this, you were asking for this, so here is the path. There are now 2 paths before your feet. There's the path that you've walked currently, which is, in many ways, I would say like a life not lived for him, right? It was a life lived for me. And then there's a second path, which I'm putting in front of you, which is a life which you don't necessarily know the outcome of yet. You don't know where this path is going to lead. But this is the path that I'm putting before your feet, and it's now up to you to choose it. And that car ride that I had, kind of was formative in some ways because I felt this overwhelming sense of, I have to act. This is it. This is that cringeworthy moment that they talk about in all films, where it's like you have to choose the right path for you, mm-hmm. And so it was that kind of moment, and I realized that God was speaking to me, and so I called actually my dad at the time, and I said to him, I said, I know this is crazy because next weekend is Christmas, but I'm going to fly to America tomorrow and go and spend some time at this conference where she was speaking at.
I'm getting mixed up in the timeline. Was it after this car ride where you felt God speak to you that you then called her?
So we met on December 11th. We had dinner on December 12th. It was about a week later on December 18th that I had the car ride, right. The car journey. The next day I flew to the US. That was when we spent 3 days together just getting to know each other. Then I flew back to England for Christmas, Gotcha. Spent Christmas with my family. And then the week after Christmas was the week that I called her a couple of times, started to get to know her. I said, hey, do you want to FaceTime? It was like, I was expecting like a 10-minute FaceTime. We ended up FaceTiming for like 3.5 hours. And then on December 29th, I asked her to marry me.
Wow.
So that was the kind of, it was crazy. Everyone thought I was mad. Everyone thought we were both mad. It was just nuts. Like, my parents were kind of like, what is this? Are you being serious, kind of thing? And, one of my sisters was she actually just laughed about the whole thing. She was just like, this is so not you, but it's also very you, and so she came out with that line, which I thought was quite a funny way of putting it. And then, a lot of my friends kind of didn't believe it, or they sort of thought that I was trying to hoist something on them. And then they kind of realized that I was being serious, and then a lot of them got on board. And then kind of, we didn't just sort of announce it to the world because it was kind of too much for a lot of people to process. They just thought that it was like a joke. And so we kind of held back announcing it, and I think we finally actually put something out about it kind of in February or something like that. But that was the kind of timeline that we went through.
How long were you engaged for until you married?
8 months.
8 months?
Yeah, we got married in August of the following year, 2019.
August when?
Yeah, August the 6th.
Yeah, don't mess that up. Yeah. August 12th for me, that's why I asked.
Oh, really?
Yeah, 2006.
Oh, wow. That's so cool.
Yeah.
I had the pleasure of meeting your bride yesterday.
Yeah.
What an unbelievable
cool,
woman.
huh?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Thank you very much for watching that clip. Before you go, do us a favor, click like, click subscribe, and if this really meant something to you, help us out by sharing it.